I want to talk about something very basic, very boring on the surface, but absolutely fundamental to our society in Britain. And that's who is on the UK electoral register and who's allowed to vote. More specifically, what the Electoral Commission has just admitted in writing in response to a Freedom of Information request we at Restore Britain has sent. Britain has no national central system for tracking the nationality of voters. We don't have a system for recording how many foreign nationals are voting. And we don't have a system for checking how foreign nationals are using postal votes. But before we present the data, we must first understand the law, who can vote, and the legal situation is surprisingly broad. According to the Electoral Commission and House of Commons Library, British citizens can vote in all elections. Irish citizens can vote in all UK elections, including general elections. Qualifying Commonwealth citizens, if they have leave to remain, can vote in all UK elections, including Westminster. Certain EU citizens can vote in local and devolved elections, depending on their status after the Elections Act of 2022. So the entire franchise of voting includes British, Irish, Commonwealth, a range of EU nationals, and other categories like qualifying foreign nationals for devolved elections. That's the legal position. Now, I personally do not agree with that. I'm actually in favour of scrapping the Commonwealth entirely. It's something that the left and some on the right, actually, the centre-right, can't seem to get their heads around. The left will call for the abolition of the monarchy because of reasons of wealth, because of colonialism and its past, something that institutions, including universities, cannot stop talking about because Britain and its empire is inherently evil, as they say. But many advocate to remain within the Commonwealth because, quite simply, it would just be mean to take the votes away from foreign nationals. And I don't know if you knew this, but anyone, literally anyone on planet Earth can just be British. And now English, Scottish, Welsh, Irish, because these are actually just a set of ideas. You take a quiz similar to the ones you find in pubs on Kings and Queens, pass it, and you're in. You get a piece of paper, and that's it. That's completely it. A Commonwealth citizen can arrive in the UK for the first time in their life, have valid leave to enter or remain, for example, a visa stamped at the airport, register to vote immediately on the same day, and vote in all UK elections, including general elections, without ever having lived here, as well as people who haven't paid taxes or held a British citizenship. There's no minimum residency period. There's no requirement to intend to stay long term. The only requirements are you are a qualifying Commonwealth citizen and you have leave to enter or remain. And you are a resident at an address within Britain. And it can be, by the way, temporary accommodation. Are you spotting a pattern here? Are you spotting a problem? That's why I believe we should stop with this 1 foot in, 1 foot out of the empire, as it is a relic and it is detrimental to us than if we were just continuing to stay in it. That's my view, personally. You don't have to agree with me, but I think I've made a bit of a case there, personally. Let me know what you think. Now let's look at what we actually know about the numbers. I asked the Electoral Commission the number of registered electors who are EU citizens, Irish citizens, qualifying Commonwealth citizens, and how many of each group were registered for postal votes and proxy votes. I only asked for broad totals and no personal data. And crucially, I asked whether electoral registration officers submit nationality data, whether postal voting is ever cross-referenced with nationality, and whether the Commission has the power to collect this data. And their response is extremely important. Firstly, they do not hold nationality data. They do not collect it from local authorities. They only publish total electorate numbers, not who those electors actually are. Then, after my internal review, they confirmed, quote, "We can confirm that EROs, that's electoral registration officers, do hold nationality data about registered electors." That is the regulator admitting that local authorities do know the nationality of voters, but the Electoral Commission chooses not to collect it. There is no central data set showing how many foreign nationals are on the register, and there is no national oversight whatsoever of postal voting by nationality. They then further admitted that they have never collected this data. It is not part of any statutory return, and they simply do not receive it. So it's important to understand that this is not a technical limitation. This is a design choice. So the only way to find out what is happening is through FOIs to councils directly, which I have decided to do. And I chose 10. And even with just one response was enough to make this video. Tower Hamlets, an area in London with a high immigration population, a borough with one of the most ethnically and culturally diverse electorates in the UK, responded to my FOI request, and they claimed that they are not bound by the Freedom of Information Act for electoral data, but they voluntarily released some figures, which was very kind of them. For EU citizens in Tower Hamlets, 19,768 registered electors. Of these, 1,533 are registered postal voters. 501 are proxy voters. This is the first time that number has been publicly confirmed. For Irish citizens, the data is corrupted beyond recovery, according to them. Tower Hamlets said, quote, "There is an option to separate this data accurately because entries pulled through in 2014 under the IER transition, which stands for Individual Electoral Registration, or IER, which permanently replaced the old household registration system in 2014 and 2015, have no nationality recorded. In plain English, Tower Hamlets cannot identify how many Irish citizens are voting, because in 2014, the government moved the electoral register into a new system, and many voters were transferred with blank nationality fields, and those missing nationalities were never corrected." And for the record, I don't think there are many Irish nationals in Tower Hamlets voting. I mean, we could look at the census. It's probably minuscule or hardly even being recorded, but they can't even quantify how many are on the roll. It's pretty extraordinary admission. Commonwealth citizens, the same problem. Tower Hamlets said, quote, "Yes, but it would not be accurate. The old system did not record nationality for all electors," meaning they cannot reliably identify the number of Commonwealth electors either, even though every Commonwealth citizen with leave to remain can vote in general elections. And it gets worse. Postal voting cannot be linked to nationality either. Tower Hamlets confirmed, quote, "The data only separates into franchise groups, not by nationality," meaning they cannot say how many postal voters are Commonwealth, Irish, British or EU because the system does not link nationality to postal voting, even though nationality determines eligibility for different elections. Tower Hamlets says the software can store nationality, but because of the 2014 migration, like I've already said, the data set remains permanently patchy. These two things alone, when put together, expose an incredibly serious gap within data sets, within our elections in general. I don't know what else to say other than the scale of potential foreign national voting could, and probably is, let's be honest, in the millions, considering the amount of people that are coming here illegally, and the Boris wave, when Boris was reign supreme of the Tory party back in 2019. Many have the legal right to vote, including general elections, but because nationality isn't tracked centrally, we do not know how many are registered or how many are voting or how many are voting by post. The system is clearly designed so that no one can ever know. If this is happening in Tower Hamlets, a borough with one of the most advanced, allegedly, electoral systems in the country, I'm going to preface allegedly once again, what do you think is happening in the rest of the UK? So what happens next? Well, we've FOI'd 10. We've FOI'd Birmingham, Manchester, Leicester, Bradford, Cardiff, Newham, Brent, Slough, Luton. And we'll assemble the first data set the Electoral Commission has chosen not to collect. So we've been going to the councils directly to ask for this data, and Tower Hamlets was the first one to come back to us, and it was very prompt, it was very quick. And we will publish the findings openly, so please stay tuned, and we shall be back with a follow-up video once we have the first data set. Thank you very much.